Good evening, friends. We start tonight here in Washington, D.C., where activists came out in droves for an issue halfway across the country. The Dakota Access Pipeline is making headlines after the Obama administration stepped in to block construction on one section of the project. A local native tribe has been protesting the pipeline for fear it would damage their water supply and go over sacred lands. Hundreds of activists gathered in front of the White House today to stand in solidarity with the Standing Rock Sioux tribe.
The Obama administration has called on the company to voluntarily stop construction within 20 miles of the Oahe Reservoir, which is the drinking water for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe.
A positive move?
Oh, it's huge, but the tribe and its attorney from Earth Justice has, indicated they'll ask the judge for a written order that will make that binding, not a voluntary request. But
so delayed, but far from over.
And the Indigenous Environmental Network, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, Honor the Earth, they all indicate they're not going anywhere legally or at the encampment until this thing is permanently canceled.
Bernie Sanders was the featured speaker at today's event. I had a chance to catch up with the senator, and we had a few words.
Where you go, Bernie? I am sorry.
Working on a book and been.
Senator, let me ask you, what do you think the chances are of stopping this pipeline?
Well, I think this is an issue that is gaining more and more support all over the country. It's the issue of climate change, the need to transform our energy system, not build more pipelines, and it is also the issue of standing with the people who have been exploited, whose treaty rights have been abrogated for years. And I think we got a shot at this, and I'm going to do everything I can.
Okay. Any thoughts on the campaign right now? This is my interview, buddy. Any thoughts on the campaign?
No, not right now.
You don't want to talk about it?
Not right now. Okay?
Okay. Thanks, Senator.
Okay.
Senator Sanders quiet on developments tonight, and a spokesperson for Hillary Clinton's campaign says she'll resume travel this Thursday. Clinton's illness and absence from the campaign trail hasn't helped her numbers at all. The latest numbers have her leading Donald Trump by just 2 points, and some are wondering if she has the strength and stamina to lead the country. Former DNC Chair Don Fowler has said it's time for a contingency plan should Clinton's condition get worse. So where does the Hillary Clinton campaign go from here? For more on this, let's turn to Emmy Award-winning journalist David Shuster. And I want to point out that David tweeted out yesterday, the first to be on this story. He wrote, if Hillary Clinton withdraws every indication now, the committee will vote to replace with Biden. And so the Bernie Sanders team scrambling. David, good to have you with us tonight. Good to see you. Good to have you on.
Ed, always a pleasure to be on with you. Thank you.
You know, this Senator Sanders did not want to talk about the campaign. And that is the first time Bernie Sanders has never wanted to talk politics with Ed Schultz. And I think this story might have something to do with it. Your thoughts on what's unfolding behind the scenes?
Well, what's unfolding behind the scenes is that, first of all, there's something of a panic at the Democratic National Committee about whether it is just pneumonia, as the Clinton campaign suggests. And because the Democratic National Committee, from Donna Brazile and all the rest, were completely blindsided by this, the Clinton campaign, the people who knew, didn't bother to call anybody at the DNC. It was simply they had to find out from the media. So a lot of people at the Democratic National Committee, who they may like Hillary Clinton, but they're not sure what to believe with her, they're now thinking, gosh, she's done it again. What else could possibly be going on here? So there have been a flurry of emails and phone calls and discussions about exactly what Don Fowler was suggesting, making sure that everybody who would be part of a committee decision, if Hillary withdraws, that they know what the process would be. And now that they know what the process would be, the sense from people who would be part of those decisions, they've been telling myself and other journalists now that if there was a vote, the vote would be for Joe Biden. It would not be for Bernie Sanders.
And clearly, Senator Sanders didn't want to inject himself into that tonight, because that was my forthcoming question. How could it not be Bernie Sanders after the superdelegates that he collected? And we are speculating if by chance something happens to Hillary Clinton in the line of not very good health.
Well, and it gets down to the arcane bylaws at the DNC. Most of the general counsel, the lawyers at the DNC say that if it goes to a committee decision, if the nominee withdraws after the convention, then the committee votes, and there has to be a preponderance, at least 50% of the members would have to vote on this. However, Ed, it's been so interesting to hear some of the supporters for Bernie Sanders, and perhaps a lawyer might argue this at the DNC. Bernie Sanders' language at the convention was to suspend the rules. He didn't use the language where he was simply turning over all of his delegates. So the Sanders team would argue, and they will argue if Hillary actually decides to get out, they will argue that no, it should go to the person who has the runner-up number of delegates. So expect a huge battle between those two camps, again, with the establishment and the Democratic National Committee shaking their head and wondering what is Hillary Clinton up to.
Isn't there some deserving in this arena after all the work Bernie Sanders did? A lot of people like Joe Biden, but wouldn't they be running the risk of turning some people off for the lack of fairness?
Well, and that's exactly the calculus. Would you turn off more people if you decide to go with Joe Biden? Would you turn off more Bernie Sanders supporters than you would gain from perhaps Republicans or independents who might be going with Trump, who might think, okay, well, Joe Biden's a better alternative than Trump, but Bernie Sanders is too far to the left. That's the calculus that at least the establishment is making, that they think Joe Biden would be a net gain for them. I'm not so sure they're right. I think Bernie Sanders, if he's bypassed, there's some strong indications that the Democratic support for Biden or anybody else would tumble very badly.
And I think we can go so far as to come to the conclusion that this conversation would probably only spur the emotions in Hillary Clinton to be even more determined with this kind of going around. But the fact of the matter is that DNC officials are having the conversation. David Shuster, great to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ed. Take care.
You bet. Witnesses are refusing to testify on Capitol Hill about Hillary Clinton's emails. Bryan Pagliano was a no-show at today's House Oversight Committee hearing. He's a former State Department computer specialist who set up Clinton's private email server. Pagliano has told the FBI in the past that there was no successful hacks on the private server. Two officials from Platte River Networks attended the hearing but refused to testify. Once Clinton left her position as Secretary of State, Platte River Networks maintained the server. Witnesses who did testify were grilled by House committee members on whether the FBI treated Clinton's email case fairly.
Was this case different?
I think this case is different in a lot of ways.
Here's the problem, Mr. Herring. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be different. Everyone is supposed to be treated equally under the law. And I know deep down you know that.
I mean, I think it's important for us as an agency to be apolitical.
The word of the week on the campaign trail clearly is deplorable. And now Mike Pence is getting attention for his comments. Donald Trump's running mate is refusing to call former KKK leader David Duke just that, deplorable. Pence says neither he nor Trump wants Duke's support, but Pence isn't bringing out the D word. He says he doesn't want to validate the language Hillary Clinton used. Let's bring in our political panel tonight. Taryn Rosenkrantz with us tonight, former managing director of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and conservative commentator Ernie White with us tonight. Well, here we go. Taryn, I want to ask you first. Is this email, or should I say, is this deplorable, her 47% moment that Mitt Romney had?
I don't think so. And I think the fact actually that Pence's response to it is actually surprising to me. I mean, just calling David Duke deplorable was the simple way out of this. I mean, his running mate Trump has called people pigs and fat and, you know, made fun of anyone under the sun. Just seems like this was that moment for him to kind of really distance himself. And instead he just sort of embraced that fact and said, oh, you know, I want to be the nice guy, when that really doesn't ring true when the rest of the campaign from them has been so negative, you know. And
does the Democratic base, those strong liberal supporters, and there is a real dislike for Donald Trump and a disrespect for him as well, is there an element of truth in what she said? And do you think it will fire up the base, whether it's half, three-quarters, whatever? I don't know, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of liberal pushback on this.
Well, because I think that fundamentally Donald Trump has embraced this hate movement. You know, he is really trying to create that across the country with people and to try to bring out what I feel is the very worst in people. I mean, that's why we keep hearing over and over again this love Trump hates, you know, and we're trying to do that because I think that people do feel like we're tapping into really negative emotions. We're talking about things that really are deplorable with deplorable people, and we're not, we need to be
Ernie White, now Mike Pence is in the crosshairs of the media because he wouldn't use the word deplorable. What's your take on this?
You know, Ed, everything she just said was deplorable. All she did was just bash everybody in the Republican Party. That's what you just did. You just sat there, and that's what the Democrats always do. All they do is just simply make fun of us. You got black people like me. You've got every nationality out there supporting Donald Trump simply because we want freedom, because we do want to see America great again. We don't believe America's great again. When you look at the black community in the inner city, America is not great. When you look at the Latino community in the inner cities, America is not great. Our schools are not great in those inner cities. The Democrats have only one play, and all they do every single time is bash us. If you go to a rally, a Trump rally, all you see are Democrats who are trying to hurt us, who are actually turning over cars out here in Los Angeles, bashing us, causing riots. When you see a Democrat, when you see them at their rallies, you do not see any Republicans giving them the finger or trying to start a riot. So again, this is their play card. This is what they do, and she did exactly what the Democrats do and sit there and call us deplorable. So I guess because I believe in freedom, because I believe in children being born, because again in the black
Karen,
community,
you want to respond to this?
Well, that's absolutely absurd, and I think everyone knows repeatedly we've seen that over and over and over again we've had this kind of inexcusable behavior by Trump supporters, and I think that the majority of Americans have seen that and really felt like this was actions, and I don't think that there is a lot of Democratic misbehavior at these rallies that has really shocked people. It has been Trump from the beginning.
Are you comfortable?
It has not been.
Are you comfortable, Taryn, that Mike Pence and Donald Trump have distanced themselves from David Duke?
I don't think they have at all. And
what
I
do
think
you want them to say?
Well, I do think we need to say that he's deplorable. I think that we do need to condemn.
So that's the bar. Ernie, your response to that?
Absolutely.
You know, again, this is America, and if somebody wants to be hateful, they can be hateful. I'm not going to sit there and support anybody who is a KKK member, just like the Democrats, they support KKK members who become senators and actually give them big parties and actually throw big funerals for them. So again, this is ridiculous when we're talking, this is what the Democrats do. All they can do is try to divide this country, black and white, hate and non-hate.
Well, we're covering Ernie because Hillary Clinton. We're covering it, Ernie, because Hillary Clinton said it.
Right.
And then she partially walked it back. She said she regretted using the word half.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about our guest over here. All they do is bash us. And we should wake up and we should vote and make sure that Hillary Clinton does not win this election.
All right. I know that you think that the email issue isn't going to go anywhere because you've said that before on this program. But what does it say to you that there are two people that were directly involved in the server that took the fifth today?
Again, it's amazing that somebody is guilty because those who are directly involved in the server, like Pagliano, he's directly involved because he's the one that looked at all these emails. So he has already broken the law, committed felonies. And what do? We allow him to take the Fifth Amendment. In other words, he should already be in a jumpsuit, in an orange jumpsuit, right there with Hillary Clinton. They have broken the law. But again, it appears that the law is different for Hillary than it is for the rest of America.
Well, the Clinton campaign has maintained the position, and so has Hillary, that she's had full disclosure on this. Trump wants to know where 30,000 emails are. But how does it look when two people come in and take the fifth in front of a government committee?
Right. And I understand that. I want to say they have, and I think Hillary Clinton and the campaign has continued to be transparent about these issues. I mean, here we sit here and we talk about these emails and we agonize and we do hearing after hearing and we try to talk about this and make sure we're investigating with year-long expensive investigations. And yet, meanwhile, what scares me is that we don't know anything about Trump's business dealings. We still haven't had the tax returns.
Had the Republicans not been so dogmatic about this committee and going after it, we would have never known that they were going to take the fifth. And where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean,
is that fair to say? I mean, don't we have? I mean, they are allowed legally to take the fifth. I mean, and that's something, But
public perception.
Right, but is perception is not always reality, and let's be true.
Final comment, Ernie. Got to run. Yep.
But the reality is 30,000 emails were deleted, and there's freedom of information. The public has a right to know what was on those emails. They're gone forever.
Okay. Taryn and also Ernie, great to have you with us tonight. I appreciate your time.